morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Belfast. Boxing and blues. I've got a little scarf on. It looks a bit fruity. I'm going to take the scarf right off. And there we are. We unveil the majesty of Muddy Waters. Yeah, you all know who Muddy Waters is, man. You gotta be listening to this good stuff, you can make those connections. Muddy Waters, Harlem Wolf, Sonny Boy Williamson. In the world of blues, roots music, these guys are your Sugar Ray Robinsons, your Jack Johnsons, your Jack Dempseys. It's very comparable, man. We get into the history. As musicians, like to get into the history of things when we have our favourite guys, just like we do in boxing. And like I say, we have our rhythmic stuff that goes on between the two. It plays quite a part. So, yeah, I think it was Miles Davis come out and said in his book that boxers and musicians are very alike in their thinking. He says they have a higher degree of theory going on in their head. And bear in mind, this is Miles Davis. He's top level Miles, Pardon me. It's very early. I sang for a lot of hours outside yesterday, and then I went to a jam down at Madden's, which is a lovely bar in Belfast that you want to check out, and best crowd, best crack going. So we had a jam down there last night, and I sang for a further 3 hours, not non-stop. I had to let somebody else take a turn. It's not like when I'm on here and I can just talk, and shove it down your throat. No, I had to shut up and have some respect and let somebody else speak or sing. So, like, guys, we got some fresh boxing news now this Tuesday afternoon. It is not morning, it is afternoon. Good afternoon, good afternoon. So what do we have here, right? Straight off the bat, we got Oscar Valdez. No longer ashamed and embarrassed, Valdez is back to positivity. We got Eric Raskin. We need to be naming these writers, don't we? These boxing journalists, the scribes, man, the scribes. Why do they call it scribe? Is it because they describe things? Scribe? Or some, I don't know. I like that word though, scribe. It just makes it all the more mythical, doesn't it? So anyway, let's see what Oscar Valdez is up to right after I light this cigarette. What do we got going on here? Oscar Valdez exited the ring last August 12th with a loss on his record. A right eye so discoloured and swollen it conjured memories of Carmen Basilio after his rematch with Sugar Ray Robinson, and a sense of self-worth every bit as battered as that eye. Right off the bat, this guy's drawing comparisons with Carmen Basilio, Sugar Ray Robinson. You gotta respect the scribes, yeah? For the first 2 weeks after his unanimous decision defeat to Emmanuel Navarrete, his second loss in 16 months, after starting his career unbeaten over nearly a full decade. He's been going a long time, man. He's been going nearly 10 years. Valdez wouldn't go out in public. So this guy's taking a battering. He's got a couple of losses, a proud man, and it has affected his feeling of self-worth, his self-esteem, which ain't good. Let's see how he worked it out. He didn't want to be seen. He didn't want to bump into friends, neighbours, strangers, and have to strike up a conversation. The swelling around his eye was going away, but the other bruises, the deeper scarring, the feeling after being outfought, the sense that he was somehow something less than he had previously believed himself to be, weren't as easy to get past. Wow. This is tough stuff. It was a rough 2 weeks for me, Valdez said. I felt ashamed of myself. I felt embarrassed to walk out the street, to go to the grocery store, because I didn't want people to see me. I was very hard on myself. And this is big trouble, with whenever people are having self-esteem issues and stuff like this. Look at this. What is that, man? What would you call that? Like a cow's lick or something? And the hat's fucking hanging off. Look. It's like a teat. I got some teat action going on here. So, look, one of the bad things about when you get into a negative mindset, right, is that It's just some inspirational talk, by the way. I don't know why this is happening. You know, it seems to be. We're gonna stick with it. Let's run with it. So look, we'll see if we can adjust this. This is how my grandfather would have wore a hat. You know, laying bricks on the site, building up the peace walls in Belfast and in Derry. You know, seeing to it that a better future could be laid down for the likes of me to come onto YouTube and chat shit. Right? Thanks, Grandma Tommy. So look, you get into a vicious cycle with the negative stuff, and we're gonna have to adjust this all together, aren't we? I'll provide some like phone call. You are now caller 6. Right, this motherfucker weren't feeling too good, and he was being hard on himself, which only makes it worse and worse and worse. But we get into that state of mind where we are hard on ourselves. That comes from the self worth thing, and like I say, it's this cycle. And we have to correct those attitudes and those behaviors where we start to speak more positive and everything that we say. Speak positive about other people, speak positive about yourself. You know, of course, we want to be realistic, but really, positivity is the key, man. You need that positive mental attitude if you want to get ahead, you know, get to some level of happiness. Let's see what else he has to say for himself. But then when I started going out a little bit more, stepping out, people would come up to me and would actually thank me. Thank you for giving us that fight. I said, but I lost. They didn't care. They said, thank you for giving your effort. We saw your passion. Several people said that to him. It definitely made me pick up my head because I had my head down, Valdez says. When they said that, it made me feel a little more okay. It was like, well, alright, they see what happened a lot different, a lot better than the way I was feeling inside. So there you are too, it's about perspective as well. Because you're in this cloud of depression and bad feeling, you mark everything with this negative, shadowy lens, you know. But these other people have seen it and they go, well, you know what, you actually look pretty good and we respect that you got in there, you know. Pardon me, Valdez, 31 and 2 with 23 knockouts, is clearly one of those my own harshest critic types. No reasonable person could be terribly disappointed in his performance against Navarrete. Yes. Yes, Valdez was the betting favourite coming in at DraftKings Sportsbook. Just drop that in, for example. He was listed at minus 165 the week of the fight, implying a 60 per 2, 62% chance that he would prevail. But those odds had some serious recency bias baked in. Navarrete was fresh off a life and death struggle with unheralded Liam Wilson, the golfer, in which Vaquero appeared not to carry the weight well in his official move, up from 126. That's, hang on, we're going to get this right, aren't we? 126 is featherweight up to 130, which is super featherweight. Yes. And I had to get off the deck in the fourth round to win by TKO in the ninth. If not for that extremely shaky showing, the Navarrete Valdez odds would likely have been around even more. So, do you know the thing is, in the States, you statessiders, the new world have a different system for how they, mark down the odds. They have this minus stuff, minus 1,000, which is maybe like 10 to 1 or something. Over here, we have, 10 to 1, 5 to 1, 11 to 6 and things like this. When it splits up, you want to get a 0.5 and things like this. So it's a little bit different over here. I'm not really completely au fait with the American system, but I know in the States they have things like parlay. They have, you hedge your bets and stuff like that. We have that over here. But it's a bit more. The terms are just different. I think it's probably the same stuff, but the terms are just a little bit different how we talk about these things. So yeah, the bookies, man. You gotta get down to the bookies and always gamble responsibly. So where we got to here? It was evident from the opening bell that Navarrete was more focused for Valdez than he had been for Wilson. And it also quickly became clear that he presented a stylistic nightmare for the Tucson, Arizona-based two-division former titleist. Navarrete's length, awkwardness, and ability to churn non-stop caused immediate issues for his opponent. I've watched Navarrete fight. He's up on his toes for such a big fella. He's right up on his toes. And he's bouncing away, and he can be at long range. And suddenly he's right in there in the pocket, pop, 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 and then he's out again. Um, yeah, good fighter. Of course, Valdez is a good fighter. Um, was Valdez more like a kind of pressure guy, isn't he? Um, I don't know him inside out, but I know that he's a good fighter. Uh, even in the Shakur Stevenson fight, you can still see that he was good. He's just come up against a generational talent there, stylistically, it wasn't good for him. Because we know what Shakur Stevenson's all about. Um, so like, what's he saying here? Da 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 da. He was able to land punches from distances where Valdez figured he was out of range, until suddenly there was a glove crashing in on his cheekbone, or his jawbone, or his orbital bone. Valdez's effort couldn't be questioned. Through all 12 rounds, he never stopped winging left hooks. Say, this is it. You're winging a bit, you're winging a bit. And maybe this whole period of feeling down and having, come off the back of one defeat, and it's led into, and another fight that was, there was a lot of adversity in it for him. A difficult fight. Maybe it's time to try and correct. We're not going to change up your whole style. We're just going to correct a couple of little things. You're winging them hooks. All right, we don't want to be telegraphing those shots. Things like that. So, not a soul in attendance at the Desert Diamond Arena or watching on ESPN could be disappointed in the pace or action. That's what fight should be, promoter Bob Arms said from ringside right after it ended. Crowd pleasing guys fighting their asses off. And it was a much closer fight than two of the three official scorecards suggested. Chris Wilson said had it 118 to 110. Lisa Giappa had it 119 to 109. But Zachary Young's 116 to 112 was more in line with reality. As Navarrete's cornermen were standing around waiting for the score to be read, microphones picked up one of them expressing confidence that their man had won, but not by much, the guess being that Valdez had won 4 of 5 rounds. So between the stylistic challenges and the competitiveness of the bout, the loss to Navarrete is in no way proof that Valdez, now 33, is over the hill. So he's a right age there, but if he's in decent shape, he could have another year or two. Look, we're going to finish up there because that article goes on for years. It's the featured article of the day, and it looks like this guy Eric Raskin has really put it together well. Obviously you get the quotes directly from the fighters. I used to just skip directly to that and not read the rest of it. Now I read the rest of it, especially when it's somebody who's put quite a bit of thought into things, and usually the commentary between the quotes sort of frames the thing, and can give you some sort of extra insight and perspective. So look, we'll read a couple more of these guys and then we'll hammer on. I got a guy coming around to fix my ceilings today. I need a ceiling in the top bedroom plastered. It's a disaster, and he is the master of plastering, and that's what's going to happen there. So I think there's a hole in the roof too, so we might need to get that tiled. We'll figure it out though. It'll all be good. So yeah, who else we got here? We got Matty Harris inspiring Ngannou, Tom Aspinall, and support of Anthony Joshua. We'll not bother with that. We're going to go. Billy Graham's Preacher Corner. Whittaker's showboating is as worthwhile as Hammond's and Ali's. Billy Graham, was he the guy that coached Ricky Haddon? We're going to find out, man. We're going to find out. Billy Graham, Wikipedia, American evangelist. Oh God. This ain't no evangelistic place. Boxing trainer. Yeah, I'm quite sure this is a guy that trained Haddon. Dick Dunn. Mate, what's going on here? Look, this is. Who's Billy Graham? Yeah. We're messing it up. We're gonna put in Hatton, right? And see what we get here. Billy Graham, Hatton, boxing trainer, ex-trainer, yeah. Billy Graham, yeah. I don't think this is the same guy, but Billy Graham was the guy that trained Hatton. I think he would wear the body bag and he would have Hatton throwing in those well placed, powerful and crisp body shots that he was famed for. So Billy Graham, let's see what's going on with this guy. The Preacher's Corner, Billy Graham. I'm a huge fan of Prince Nassim Hamed. We went for our professional licenses on the same day and were on shows together throughout our careers. He's still a very good friend of mine. Muhammad Ali played a huge part in my life. I've been watching him since the Olympics in Rome. I was the only kid in Salford. This is yeah, Salford is Manchester. So Salford is like a borough of Manchester, or an area in Manchester that is like right where the Manchester United Stadium is. So that's where this guy's out of. Uh, I was the only kid in Salford who wanted him to beat Henry Cooper. I thought he was dead funny and he was my hero. Neither was exactly shy and retiring. I'm a big believer in showing an opponent respect before the fight, but when you're actually in the ring with somebody, you shouldn't treat them with any respect whatsoever until the fight's over. Respecting their ability is one thing, but you're there to do a job and you do whatever it takes to get it done. The person you're fighting isn't your friend, they're trying to knock your effing head off. I'd always tell my fighters not to touch gloves during a fight. I'm not particularly a fan of humiliating and belittling an opponent, but I understand why it's done. So here we go. This guy has certain principles and stuff as to how he would like his fighters to go in. Everybody's different. Sometimes you see the glove tapping is a bit too much. It's like, yeah, okay, guys, you're putting on a good show together here, but you're in a fight. Let's see some spite. So, like, I had no problems with Naz's showboating and what Ali did to Ernie Terrell. I'm not going to have any issues with what Ben Whittaker is doing. So, Ben Whittaker, we got this new British guy coming through. He's doing flips and he's quite fancy with a little showboating moves and stuff like this. Seems to be a good fighter, too. I mean, obviously that stuff can sell you. You see, like, young fighters that do quite a bit of it early in their careers, and then when they step up the levels, they realize, oh shit, I'm kind of wasting energy on that. Well, unless you are a Prince Nassim or a Muhammad Ali, was high level guys. Say what you will about Nassim's Nassim Hamid's record, or they were top guys, and they were big stars as well. So let's see how he goes along. If he can back it up when it comes to the fisticuffs, then great. You can you can still do that silly stuff. Joe Calzaghe did a bit of it as well, but it wasn't so much a mockery thing or anything like that. I don't think with Calzaghe. I know exactly why he does it, but I think his ring walks and some of the moves he pulls off are cringeworthy. But if I'm honest, I find it cringeworthy when I see any man dance, whether it's on TV or in a nightclub, let alone in a boxing ring. I never danced when I was younger. Me and my mate were out one night just after Saturday Night Fever came on, and he told me he wished he could dance like John Travolta. I told him to wash his effing mouth out. It's just not for me. Now, we have to respect this guy here, right? Not only for what he has accomplished as a trainer and stuff, but the fact that he has these principles. We might not agree with him 100%, but he's doing what he does. One of my idols as a musician is Van Morrison. I can remember somebody asked him in an interview once. It was a lady and she was trying to be quite light-hearted. And she asked him, Van, do you ever dance? Do you dance? And Van was like, no. Belfast men don't dance. Belfast men do not dance. And do you know what? I can see where that's coming from. Like, see, to be honest, I love dancing, like I do, but I try to keep a bit of a lid on it. I couldn't be dancing around all day and getting super fruity and stuff like that. But we're gonna throw that over there. We're gonna throw that over there. Billy Graham probably doesn't agree with that hat, so it's going off. You know, I think it's good to dance. I think it's a good thing. I can understand his point of view. But I think dancing's great. It's a good thing to do. It's good for you. It's good for you. I seen Bredman Edwards come out and said, if a guy can dance, he can fight. Basically, it's a rhythmic thing. Me personally, it's like Man, I'm a musician, an entertainer, you know, like a front man in a band and stuff like that. So that's part of my job, you know, what I do. But I also enjoy it. So I'm gonna keep dancing. But if Billy Graham comes walking in the room for some reason, I'll put a wee lid on it, you know, until he goes home, and then I'll go fucking be straight into it. Yeah, like Floyd Mayweather would have done his wee dances and stuff, wouldn't he? You know, and his clips and his lead up to fights and stuff like that. I think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's good fun, man. And John Travolta's a legend. So anyway, let's move on. I can see through all that bullshit, and I can see exactly what Whittaker's got in his arsenal, and he's got a lot. Fighters like him want people to throw punches at them. They want openings to work with, and Whittaker uses his tricks to create them. I take real notice of what he does when he gets those openings. So this guy seems like a real serious dude. Like this guy isn't fucking around. But I wonder, does he dance in the privacy of his own home? He's tall, he can hit you with straight long shots to the head and body. In fact, he goes to the body hard on both sides. And the balance is perfect. When he really goes to work, there's something of Thomas Hearns about him. Alright, I can't see any reason to hold Whittaker back. He isn't going to change his style now. He's used this style as an amateur. It's working for him as a professional, and I think he'll take risks, whoever he's in with. 26 is the perfect age for him to come off the leash and honestly match him with Dan Aziz. Okay. One more thing, I'd strongly advise Whittaker not to do any pirouettes against the likes of Arthur Beterbiev. Any of his other tricks, go for it. He's quick enough to get away with them. Okay, so it's just a serious note of caution here for Whittaker. Don't get too fruity, man, you know, or Beterbiev is gonna fuck you up. There are three other British youngsters I'm extremely excited about. Hamza Shiraz was sensational against Liam Williams. To throw certain shots takes a lot of nerve. You're at risk every time you throw a punch, so you have to be daring to really commit to some shots. The fighters who believe in their attributes will take those chances and really commit to them. Those who don't will do it half-heartedly and are more likely to get caught. You've got to be quite bold to go about a job the way Shiraz did, especially against a fighter like the Welshman. Williams was a world-class fighter who I have a lot of respect for. I wouldn't have bet a lot of money on Shiraz before the fight because it was his first real test, but I did fear a bit for Williams. Shiraz would have been the type of fighter who would have scared me to death as an opponent. A tall, aggressive counter-puncher who can hit with both hands is a fucking nightmare. You know what, this guy doesn't hold back. And like I say, I try to cut down on the cursing in these videos, you know, because I've heard you know, you go into the gym, you can't you can't be cursing and talking all this bullshit, and that's just the way I talk, you know. I just curse all the time. It's like fucking shit, and this bitch and that motherfucker said this, you know. So I'm trying to practice, you know, to just turn that off. Um, but this guy doesn't give a fuck. So like, Shiraz would have been the type of fighter who would have did it. We've already said that. Power is all about mechanics, okay, and he can really punch to the head and body. He's a predator. Very interesting, man. This guy's fucking. This Billy Graham's an interesting dude. That's quite an interesting thing to say, isn't it? I do worry about him though. The height and reach that makes him so dangerous could also make him vulnerable. You can't have everything, but that makes him even more exciting to watch. Adam Azim. So I'm getting confused between these guys, right? So from Britain we have a new crop of fighters, prospects, guys that are looking quite good. They've got the ability, you know, they're being put through their paces and they have to, you know, pass their chin test and go 12 rounds and things like this, and, you know, up their levels as they go along. A lot of these guys seem to be from like Pakistani, Asian, like Indian families and stuff like this. So, you know, we've got Adam Azim. I think he's got a brother as well, Azim. You've got Hamza Shiraz, you've got Dan Aziz, and you've got Whittaker. So all these guys are, you know, there's some cultural diversity going on here, and you know, whatever that says about the gym system and stuff like that, and the kids that are coming into the boxing gym. I mean, in England obviously they have a lot of trouble with knife crime and gangs and stuff like this, and a lot of these kids are growing up in the States, and you know, it's like real dangerous, you know. So why wouldn't they join a gang? You know, because they want protection. You know, otherwise they're the kid that gets picked on. And so maybe we're looking at guys here that rather than have, you know, subscribe to that gang life, you know, have decided to go into boxing, and that's where they get their discipline. That's where they develop their principles, and therefore they don't need to be in a gang, really. They're in our gang, the boxing gang, yeah. So, you know, it's healthy, man, you know, and these kids that otherwise could be, and it's the same story worldwide, isn't it, you know? Boxing saved me from a life of crime. It's kind of true, isn't it? A lot, a lot of us would be behind bars now if it weren't for boxing. So, you got to get in there. Do you know what? Before I read the rest of this article, I was watching a few of the different channels. I seen a good American one, and the guy had Chris Algieri on his channel. I think it's a regular thing. Algieri comes on. You know, the guy's quite a good presenter and stuff, and seemed quite aware of the business. And you know, they talked about the betting odds and stuff, as they like to, quite a bit on the American side of things. We don't really discuss odds on the British boxing videos. We don't really get into that so much. Um, I don't know why that is. If that's like a legal thing or something like that. Um, but we do, like a lot of programs and podcasts and things will be sponsored by like betting companies and betting websites and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to get all the way into that, but Chris Algieri was on talking to this guy, and it was really interesting to hear him speak, and he was just a little bit more unfettered. Billy Graham won't like that word, but I'm going to say it. A little bit more unfettered, and he could say what he wanted to say, you know, because he wasn't on Pro Box TV. You know, he was just really being very right out there with his opinion, which was good to see. And you know, obviously Algieri's a very intelligent guy. He's like one of these super smart type of guys, you know. And he's I had been talking about the Cuban setup and the Russian setup a little bit, and the research that I have to do to understand more about it, which will come in time, you know. We let these things unfold, don't we? And he was talking about the Japanese guys. Well, I mean, him and the presenter were sort of passing it back and forth about, you know, your Inoue and Inoue's brother and all of these other fighters and Japan and the tradition and how they've cultivated this and that. And there's like an Eastern philosophy and a Western philosophy. The fact that the guys are all the smaller weights, yet they can fight on big shows, they can headline shows. This sort of positives to the lower weight classes and the skills that you see, the speed and the warrior spirit that is really such a tradition in Japan. So that was quite interesting to hear about that. So yeah, like shout out those guys. I think it was Boxing Life USA or something like that. I seen another great channel. Maybe True Life Boxing or something. I was some black dude, you know, and he was talking about his 5 greatest jabs of all time. I think number 5 was Lennox Lewis. Number 4 was Muhammad Ali. Number 3 was Pernell Whittaker, who I thought this article was going to be about. Number 2 was Sugar Ray Robinson. In no particular order, and number 1 was Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes, but you know the guy just didn't say, "Oh well, he's throwing a probing jab. Oh, that's a stiff jab. That's a power jab." No, this guy was like into all the detail, and you know he was lovely, relaxed guy, very musical voice, and I'll just break it down for you, let you know exactly what's going on here with this jab. You watch Ernie Terrell, you can, you know, there's something about that I really like. I say a big boxing fan, like a big blues music and a jazz music fan, you know. So I just like their culture. I like how they get on, you know. I know it's interesting looking into different cultures, you know. It really is. So look, we'll get down to this. Adam Azim is the youngest of the 3. He's only young, but I bet he was shaving at 16. He's a physically mature 21-year-old, but he's still a kid. You can't fault what he's done so far. It's very impressive, actually. The European title is a prestigious belt, and you have to be a good fighter to win it. He's tall for a super lightweight, and he's more of a classic boxer. What I like about him is that he throws hurtful shots to the body. He's exciting. He obviously was a very good amateur. but just decided to turn professional young. I like Dalton Smith. This is a great roundup of the British fighters that we're getting here, isn't it? Nice one, buddy, great. I think Dalton Smith's fighting soon. He knows what he's doing. He's a pressure fighter, but he's educated. It's a Peter he's fighting and goes about it cleverly. Personally, I'd like to see that fight next. When you're a European champion, you have to defend it against the best fighters in Europe. You know that when you fight for a title in the first place. I think Adam would beat Dalton, but I think it's the perfect measuring stick at the perfect time. Yeah, but then again, they're trying to move Dalton and they're trying to build him up as well. So, I mean, if one of them loses in the sort of era we're in, where you've lost your role, then again, yeah, if they go about it right, they can make a big fight out of it. If they both have a good showing and even the loser comes off looking good, then he can go on to do more. It's the sacrificial lamb, man. It's the sacrificial lamb. They all look like amazing talents, but I'm not going to crown them as world class yet because we live in a world where fighters like Andy Golovkin and Nana Inoue, you really have to learn how to say that. A fighter can have all the potential, all the raw ability, and all the skill in the world, but it can all go out the window the first time they come up against someone who gives it back. I wouldn't be surprised if all those fighters end up mixing with the very top names in the division because they have the talent to do so. I also wouldn't be surprised if they get beat when they get there. But how exciting is it that Britain has a group of fighters with the potential to do it? So there we are, we've got a good crop coming up. The one comment is from a guy called Londoner. It's simply solid appraisal from Billy. Typical British comment there. So let's see if there's anything else worth looking at here. Leonard Ellerby has come out and said that Thurman's underdog odds against Sue are disrespectful. Well, let's see. Ellerby's like a big black Santa Claus, isn't he? I remember the time he said he was going to stomp out Eddie Hearns. He's gangster, man. He's gangster. So, Leonard Ellerby understands why Keith Thurman might be the underdog on paper ahead of his March 35 at Tennessee. But he disagrees with how wide the bookmakers have the contest. So, I mean, this whole, the gambling being involved as deeply as it is, isn't for no reason. I mean, obviously, what the odds are made helps us determine who the favourite is and who the underdog is in the fight. We sort of look to the bookies because the bookies rarely get it wrong, A lot of the time they pick the right guy, and if the other guy wins, it's an upset. Yes, so they are a part of the structure here. Let's just get straight to what Ellerby says because we're going to wrap up here. The most disrespectful thing out there I saw this morning was I was looking at the odds and I was like, Sue's an 8-1 favourite. Ellerby said to Fight Up TV, there's got to be a mistake. I'm like, is this a typo or something? Because no way in hell is this guy an 8-1 favourite over Keith Thurman. That Sue's not Floyd Mayweather, you know what I mean? Ellerby has worked with Mayweather for years, and while he sees why the odds have Thurman an overwhelming underdog, he disagrees with the implication that it might be a one-sided fight. That said, he clearly rates Sue. He's been doing his thing, Ellerby said of the Australian. I give him his respect and his props, but Keith is a whole different type of fighter. They can say what they want about the inactivity, those are facts. But I've heard no whispering going on that he's been battling through injuries. But also one of the major things, yes, one guy's being a lot more active than the other, but the other guy's body is much more preserved. Yes. And Keith has a lot of experience. The fight's going to play right into Keith's hands. You see what kind of fighter Sue is. Again, I'm going to say he's a good fighter, but I'm just being honest. I don't think it's kind of what people think it is. It's cool to say you want all these big names. It's cool to say that. Timing is everything. I've watched his most recent fights very closely, but he ain't no 8-1 favourite against Keith Thurman. I promise you that. I've been around this boxing shit for a long, long time. The fight's going to be what it's going to be, but I'm going to tell you, Keith Thurman is coming to win, and in my eyes, he's got a tremendous chance to win this fight. So there you are. I mean, Leonard Ellerby, He's just full of attitude, isn't he? So yeah, we. Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, guys, I think that's everything. A 35-minute video. Do you know what else I wanted to mention? In terms of like boxing commentators, guys at ringside who call the fights and stuff. Do you know a guy I really like, right? I'll tell you why I like him. Uh, Al Bernstein just talks like he talks, you know. He's one of the guys, he's respected, it's all good. But you hear Al Bernstein talk, sometimes he'll explain it like this, and sometimes he'll explain it like that. And no, the keys to victory, he doesn't really, he's not your typical sort of macho man, whereas like, he's really, Adam Smith, this fight is, he's not like that. Al Bernstein is just like, I want to tell you, I've had some thoughts about the fight. He's just lovely, man. And you know what else Al Bernstein can do? He can sing. In fact, I think he has an album. I think he might have a number of albums. And if I ever go to America, which 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 might not happen for different reasons, I would love to go watch Al Bernstein sing. I think he does jazz, laid back jazz numbers and stuff like that. Well, the guy's got a lovely voice, and he's very well. He's a good knowledge. Like he's a good knowledge on the fights. But there you go, Al Bernstein, Chris Algieri, Billy Graham, and Leonard Ellerby. Yeah, there you are, guys. From the four corners of the earth to your living room, Belfast, boxing, and blues. Have a nice afternoon.